So this is the Torso S-4. In a nutshell, it's a granular sampler, but it's a lot more in depth than just that. There's so much that you could do with just this device alone, because not only does it have one track, but it has four, meaning that you could, put whatever sample you want on each track and use the engines that it has to mangle the sound in whatever way you would like. You could even leave it dry if you want and have an incoming signal like from the OPXY playing drums or something like that on top of your wet signals on the other tracks. So it makes it really easy to actually just, make a full track on this device, because not only that, it has a scene mode, which is pretty much like your song mode, and you have a mixer, which is pretty great. It has two pages, one for panning and compressing, and the other one's for the levels and the filter. Not only that, you can modulate what you do with each one of these things. And that's what's really cool about this, is that just about everything you're able to modulate, and that makes for some really interesting, I would say, progressions and evolutions of your sound. Now the main thing here is obviously the sampler and the Granular engine. This is what really kind of, I would say, mangles your sound the most. And the sampler engine is kind of based off a tape as well as just a regular sampler. So you have two actual sampling engines. You have the disc mode and the tape mode. So depending on which one you pick, it will act as a tape or as a disc. And you also have poly, which is cool. This is something that you could use as an instrument. And if you control something like the Torso with something like the OPXY, you can use the key bed of the OPXY to play any sample in here chromatically. Now that's something that's really cool. Now I'm not going to show that today. We're going to mainly talk about the main stuff, but that's just something that to think about, because it does a lot more than just sample. You could definitely sample like one C note and play it chromatically through the keys. So that's really cool that it even has that. So let's go back to the main one, which is the disc engine. And what I wanted to showcase was how you could make a constantly evolving scene. So what I have here is just E piano of the OPXY, which is cool, and mixed with something like your arpeggiator, you can really get these, just randomized progressions. And then that mixed with the step sequencer and its components, which I have set to random right now, is really cool, because that makes it so it goes up and down. And what random does is that it changes the octaves up to 5 and then back down to regular or back to normal, which is really cool. And then you have the randomizer on the actual arpeggiator. So that alone is already really powerful, and it's only up to 1 bar, which is what makes this super unique, because it makes 1 bar turn into a full ambient soundscape, which is really great. Now, mixed with the Torso, we're going to use the Granular engine. We're going to use just about everything that we can just to showcase what this thing could do. We're not going to use the sampler though. We're bypassing through the sampler pretty much and monitoring our incoming sound and using this as an effects unit, because I feel like this would be the easiest way to show you guys something that's constantly evolving. So let's go ahead. Right now, like I said, I have the MIDI out going into the MIDI in of the OPXY. So when I press play, you're going to hear the dry signal, because we haven't actually used any of the engines yet. So let's go ahead and just press play, and we'll see where we go from here. So what's cool about this right here is that you could start, scanning, which is where the grains come in. Now contour here will give you a bit more of a longer grain. You can change the pitch. Now spray will randomly spray out most of the stuff. Like a stereo, I would say it's kind of like a stereo signal where it goes left and right a little bit. Now this has a second page. There is a second page to this, and you have random pitch, random rate, random size, and random amp, as well as random reverse. Now reverse is cool because it will send the signal backwards and while still carrying on your original signal. So this is the original, dry signal, full wet. Now we have kind of 40%. So that was just the granular part of the Torso. You could still add other things like the filter here, which we're going to mess with now. Now my favorite feature of this part here is the waves mode. That pretty much makes it so the frequencies go up and down, kind of like mid, high, low, and things like that. And you could hear them peaking as the wave goes through. So I like using it in a slower capacity. That way it slowly kind of goes into the mix. you can make it so it's just the high end, or you can make it so it has the low end in there. So that's really powerful alone already. We haven't even done any of the modulation, which is where I'm saying this thing is kind of insane because there's a lot that you could do with it. And while it does seem like it just makes one sound, it doesn't. Once they start messing with drums and different samples, it really does come down to what you put into the machine and, you know, more so than what it comes out of it. So it's pretty cool. So we also have the drive and compressor mode. Now, this mode is a little bit, I would say, you have to kind of use it sparingly because it does get really overpowering, and using something like the noise or the crusher effect really does sometimes add too much to the sound. But we're going to go ahead and add a little bit to show you kind of that little grit that it gives you. Now you could choose mid or high or low end. So it's actually fairly nice in moderation. I think adding that little bit of texture in the background makes a really interesting sound because it starts to, you know, move with your actual, you know, incoming sound. And the best part about it is that if you modulate it, then you could really make it start moving up and down and making it feel like it's moving with you. So if I go ahead and press down on the encoder, you could actually make it go left and right. So it'll be, you know, negative wetness and positive wetness. And this will modulate as it goes. Starts to move with you, which is pretty cool. Now, if you ever wanted to get rid of anything, you could press the clear button here and just completely get rid of all the parameters and the mods here. And that will get rid of everything from that engine, but it'll keep everything from your other engines. So you have to do it separately on each one. So let's go ahead and add this back in just really quick. Don't really know where I was, but we're going to just keep the wetness to 35, and we're going to keep the drive up a little bit. So now we got delay and reverb. Now this is also very powerful, but it also could get a bit much. So with delay, you know, you got to be a little bit careful because sometimes it gets a little crazy. Now reverb is also a little insane because the way that it works is that it comes down to the size and the tone and the decay. So depending on how long you want that soundscape to ring out, you might want to have the size come down to be a little lower so it's not, you know, overly drowning your sound. So I like to keep it around 40 or so. Just, you know, it's a little bit of a lot, but with this sound, I think with the high end, it will sound really pretty. So let's go ahead and start adding both in. Let's spread it. Now time is difficult because depending on what you do, it will get really crazy. See that? It's pretty cool. Now let's add some reverb. Now that mixed with any of the performances, so beautiful, right? It's just so easy to bring a sound in and just kind of completely transform it. And I like leaving it at just a bit of wetness. If I do full wet, then it's just completely the granular engine. And with that, you could use the other side as well to completely shape that. So let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, it's just amazing what this thing could do, and it's just so easy to use as well. Once you understand how it all works, it's fairly easy and accessible, and that's what I really like about it is that you can really sit here and play around with it and just come out with different sounds, and you can modulate it as well. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna do some modulation. Let's bring these down, and we're gonna make it so we modulate specifically those second parameters from the second page. So we're gonna bring this back down to 50. That way we get, 50% wet, 50% dry. And this way we could kind of hear both ends. So we're gonna hit modulate, and let's do the pitch, right? Let's go both ways on pitch. We're gonna do both ways on everything just so you guys can see how it works. That way we could hear both sides. So we'll do like 30%, 30% here. Let's do reverse. How about for reverse instead, we just go full right. So positive 45 there. Then feedback will also kind of do both. That way it bounces in between both. Now, once you set the modulation, it's going to depend on the actual waveform that you pick and things like that for it to work. So once you go in here, you have multiple ones. And you can hit select, and you can hit which waveform you want. So I like wave. Random was the one that was currently on. You also have ADSR. That way you could choose when it comes in or follow. Let's go to wave, which is the one I like to use. And this will, show the rate and everything that everything is moving. So let's bring the rate down. Let's change the amount. Let's change the phase. Offset a little bit. Let's curve it in. So here we go. So if we go back, you see how everything starts to move. You can see the bottom. There's these little lines that showcase what's really happening. So let's go ahead and bring the feedback down. It'll still kind of go up on its own. Now if you add a little bit, it'll come back in. Now let's go ahead and add modulation to the filter. Now this is going to be interesting because let's say I go full on, let's say we get the rate all the way up and it just jumps from up to down. So if we do this and then we go to mod, we hit select and we hit a different one, it's going to act very differently too. So we could go ahead and let's just go to random. Let's see what random will do. Let's do the rate down to 1:1 and then let's do phase right here, offset it a little bit. Let's spread it out just to see what happens. And if we smooth it out, let's see kind of what it does and do variations. So this is going to sound probably awful, but you could get an idea of what you could really do with this. And imagine just using just one sound, like maybe just a kick drum or just one synth. It's a whole different sound game. So it's constantly evolving because it's random. And it's causing this to change in the waveform. That sounds really pretty. So again, really powerful device, and you could do that with every engine. Now there also is a perform. If you hold perform and then change one of these macros like this, specifically it'll also tell you what that's on. So if I go ahead and let go, now that's a macro. So I could change that specific rate. So really cool. It does have performance, ways to do performance with this with incoming audio or its own samples. And there's a lot of other things you could do with that. Obviously, the sky's the limit depending on your own creativity. Now, the mix is great too because the mix is able to be modulated as well. You could mix the panning. So if you wanted to go left and right, you go ahead and do that. So we have it already set, and you can see it going left and right here. So that's pretty much how I use the Torso S-4 with my OPXY and my other devices. I use it as an effects unit, but I also use it to make my own samples to sample into my MPC Key 37. So more on that in the next video. I want to really showcase how I could create a whole beat with just a longer sample here chopped up in the MPC. It's actually fairly easy, and it's how I've been making a lot of my beats recently, especially if I want my own unique samples and my own soundscapes. It's really great for that, as well as making your own ambient pads in the back of a beat, which I think is also really powerful. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, let me know in the comment section down below what you'd like to see next with this thing, or if you even want to know anything else about it, let me know. Feel free to ask any questions you guys may have. So till next time, guys, keep making beats and peace out.